All right, guys, lesson 19, expanding and factoring. We're on page 141 in your book, so if you want to pull it out and take notes as we go along, we're on page 141. All right, please be good for the substitute. Do what they tell you to do. This should only take you 15 to 20 minutes to get through, and then the rest of the time was yours. If you are quiet and act like you're busy, the sub will not bother you. Okay, but if you're loud and annoying and noisy, the sub will probably bother you. So it'd be wise just to be quiet and do your own thing. Okay, act like you're busy, and the sub probably won't bother you. All right, so page 141. Let's use distributive property to write expressions in different ways. Learning targets. I can organize my work when I use the distributive property. I can use the distributive property to rewrite expressions with positive and negative numbers, and I understand the factoring and expanding are words used to describe using the distributive property to write equivalent expressions. All right, 19.1, number talk parentheses. Find the value of each expression mentally. Go ahead and see if you can do this on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can do this on your own, and then push play when you got the answers, and we'll see how you did. All right, hopefully you have figured it out. With these problems, we have to follow the order of operations. Remember, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? So on this first one, we have multiply and addition. Well, multiply comes first in order of operations. So 3 times 4 is 12. So we have 2 plus 12, and then 2 plus 12 is 14. All right, the next one we have parentheses, and we actually have a problem inside the parentheses that we can solve. So 2 plus 3 is 5, and then 5 times 4 equals 20. All right, the next one down, we have 3 times 4 again. 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 minus 12, hopefully we're using a calculator here. 2 minus 12 is negative 10. And then once again, we do what's in the parentheses. 3 plus 4 is 7, so 2 minus 7 equals negative 5. All right, so remember, we got to follow the order of operations first. Parentheses come first, then exponents, multiply and divide are together, and then add and subtract are together as well. All right, the bottom of page 141 and most of 142, this is going to be pretty much the lesson. Okay, so let's focus on this part. Factoring and expanding with negative numbers. In each row, write the equivalent expression. If you get stuck, use a diagram to organize your work. The first row is provided as an example. Diagrams are provided for the first 3 rows. All right, so these diagrams help some students organize their work so they know what they have and what they need. If you want to use these for all of them, it's great. The way it goes is this right here. Oh, let me get the pencil part. The number outside the parentheses goes on the side. The numbers inside the parentheses go on the top. Okay, and then you multiply, use it like a multiplication table. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15, so it goes in the first box, and then negative 3 times negative 2. Well, negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Be sure to use your calculator. And then y, just put the y at the end. Okay, so I have negative 15. Because it's a positive 6, it's going to be a plus 6y. All right, so let's look at the second one. We have 5 on the outside. Okay, so it's going to go on the side of the box, and then we have a minus 6. The minus always goes with the number after it. So the 6 is after the minus, so the minus goes with the 6. So looking at this chart up here, 5 times a, we just put them together, it's 5a, and then 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. Okay, so then I just write it out, 5a negative 30, or 5a minus 30. Okay, now when they give you the expanded form and you need to find the factored form, you're going backwards. So you need to find the greatest common factor. What is the number or the letter, which you'll see later down here, what is the letter or the number that I can divide both of them by? So I have 6a and I have 2b, or negative 2b. Okay, so I can divide both of those by a 2. So if you notice up here on the chart, we have a 2. We have a 2 right here. Okay, so we're going to go 6a divided by 2. Well, 6 divided by 2 is 3, so 3a is going to go up here. Okay, And then negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, and then b. Okay? So 2's on the side of the box here, so it's going to go outside the parentheses. And then 3a minus 1b, or 3a minus b, goes on the inside. All right? So now we don't have a box anymore. We don't have a chart. So let's see if we can do this without the chart. So on this first column, we're just going to use the distributive property. Take whatever's on the outside and multiply it by everything on the inside. So negative 4 times 2w, and negative 4 times 2 is negative 8w. Okay, and then negative 4, and then notice there's a minus 5. So negative 4 times minus 5 is a positive, so plus 20. And then we just put the z at the end. Okay? Now here on the next one, there's just a negative outside. So we're just going to go negative times that, negative times that. So negative times positive 2x would be negative 2x. Negative times a negative 3y would be a positive 3y. Okay? So pretty much we just switched the sign on both of them. All right, on the next one, now they have us in the other column. So we have to think in your mind, what can I divide, or what number can I divide that goes into 20, 10, and 15? Okay? So hopefully you thought that 5, I can divide all of those by 5. So 5 is going to be the number outside the parenthesis. Okay? And then we're just going to divide each one of these by 5. So 20 divided by 5 is 4, so we have 4x. Minus 10 divided by 5 is minus 2y. And 15 divided by 5 is positive 3z. Okay? So my greatest common factor goes on the outside, and then I divide everything by that 5, and that goes on the inside. Okay? Nothing changes when I start to use letters. So I'm just going to put this k with the 4 and the 17. So 4 times k is 4k. 4 times minus 17 is minus 17k. All right? Now, if you wanted to get fancy and combine those, which actually we'll talk about tomorrow in class, 4 minus 17 is negative 13. Okay, but you don't have to do that. You can just leave it like that, 4k minus 17. All right, on the next one, 10a and 13a. Well, we can't, 10 and 13, there's no number that I can divide by both of them except for 1. Okay, but if you notice, both of them have the letter a with them. So I'm going to divide both by a. So a goes on the outside of the parentheses. And then 10a divided by a, they're just going to cancel each other out, so I'm left with 10. 13a divided by a is just 13, so 10 minus 13 on the inside. All right? Moving on. Okay, so when I have a number and a letter on the outside, just multiply the numbers and just put the letters at the end. So focus on the numbers. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then I have xy. Okay? And then negative 2 times negative z, well, there's no number there, so I'm just, negative times a negative is a positive, right? We got to think of this minus right there as a negative, so negative times a negative is a positive. And then we just put 2xz. And if you wanted to put 2zx, that's fine too. The order really doesn't matter. I just usually put them in alphabetical order. All right, so looking at the next one, I have AB, BC, and 3BD. Well, only one of them has a number, so the number is not going to go on the outside. But if you notice, they all have a B in there. So we are going to divide everything by B. So B goes on the outside. All right. AB divided by B is just A. BC divided by B is just C, so A minus C. And then the B's cancel out, so we have a minus 3D on the outside. Okay? And then the last one. Once again, there's a negative, so we're just going to switch the sign on all of them, and we're just going to put an X with everything. So positive 3 becomes negative 3, so we have negative 3xy. A minus z becomes a positive xz. And then a positive 4 becomes a negative 4xw, or wx. Okay? And there you have it. That's all you're doing today. Okay, nothing fancy. We just have to use the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses, or if we want parentheses, we have to find the greatest common factor and divide. All right. So, looking at the summary, we can use properties of operations in different ways to rewrite expressions and create equivalent expressions. We've already seen that we can use the distributive property to expand an expression. For example, 3 times x plus 5 equals 3x plus 15. We can also use the distributive property in other direction and factor, so we can go backwards. So you can think of factoring as doing the reverse distributive property. So if you have 8x plus 12, I can divide both of them by 4, so 4 goes on the outside, and then 8x divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 8x plus 12 equals 4 times the quantity of 2x plus 3. We can organize the work using the distributive property to rewrite the expression 12x minus 8. In this case, we know the product and need to find the factors. So if you think, what can I divide 12x and 8 by? I can divide both by 4, so 4 goes on the outside. 12x divided by 4 is 3x. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. So I have 4 times 3x minus 2. Okay? If you have any questions, you can go ahead and send me an email. There will also be other links on helps or practices that you want to do. So on your assignment, on page 144 in your book, your assignment will be Canvas, right? It's number 1 and sum of number 5. So on number 1, we're going to expand 1a. It says expand to write an equivalent expression. Negative 1/4. So let me slide down here. Negative 1/4 times negative 8x plus 12y. So remember, you're just going to go negative 1/4 times negative 8 and x, and then negative 1/4 times positive 12y. Okay, and then letter B, factor to write an equivalent expression 36a minus 16. So think in your mind, what can I divide by 36 and 16? Okay, that's going to go on the outside. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's 4. So 4 is going to go on the outside, and then divide both of those by 4, and that's going to go on the inside. So that's number 1 on Canvas. Number 2 on Canvas is actually 5b in your book and 5d. So if I scroll down there, 5b, and we're just solving. So this is the stuff that we've been doing the last few weeks. So I just want to know what m is. So on 5b, we're first going to get rid of the 5 by subtracting 5. And then we're going to get rid of the negative 1/4 by dividing by negative 1/4. On D, there's parentheses, so I'm going to divide by negative 8. And then I'm going to add 1.25, right? And remember, if you have any questions, you can always send me an email.